We begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. The Gemara begins with a siman. Siman lo Rav Tzlafchad v'Yosef Ichbel Menashe Yechoshev. Okay, now the Gemara here is going to bring questions from Rav Papa on what we spoke about before here in the Gemara. So just to review, B'kitzer, the point that we learned here before, it's discussing Nachlas Ha'aretz, how Yidden inherited Eretz Yisrael. And there was 3 opinions brought in the Braise before here in the Gemara, but let's discuss now 2 opinions. One opinion, Rabbi Yoshia, is that L'Yotze Mitzrayim Nischalka Ha'aretz, which means that even if in a family there are, let's say, 10 or 11 people that are coming into Eretz Yisrael, the Nachla is not divided in that number of 11 people. Rather, it's divided according to their fathers, which were the ones that came out of Mitzrayim. Let's say, for example, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven has 1 son, Shimon has 10 sons. The Nachla is divided for Reuven and Shimon that came out of Mitzrayim, so therefore there's only 1 portion for Reuven, 1 portion for Shimon, and that's what their children Yarshin. The Nachla is by the ones that came out of Mitzrayim. Then the other opinion here, which is Rabbi Yonason, says that Eretz Yisrael is divided for those that came into Eretz Yisrael, for the boy ha'aretz. So if it's 11 people in the family that came into Eretz Yisrael, it's divided into 11 portions for these 11 people. However, even according to Rabbi Yonason, there is what's called chazara, or the Gemara refers to it also as mesim yarshim esachayim, or hachayim yarshim again mesim yarshim esachayim. Now what that means is that the Nachla begins with 11 portions in the example that I said for those that are coming into Eretz Yisrael. But then the Nachla goes back to the ones that came out of Mitzrayim, to the fathers, Reuven and Shimon. And then it's redivided for the children equally, which would be 5.5 portions for Reuven's son and 5.5 portions for Shimon's 10 children. That's how the Nachla was done. And this is all based on the Psukim as the Gemara brought before. Okay, now, some of the questions here that Rav Papa is going to ask is going to be on the Manda Amma that says that L'boy Ha'aretz Nischalka, that the Nachla was divided by those that came into Eretz Yisrael. Okay, let's begin. Sagt the Gemara Amma le Rav Papa l'Abaye. Rav Papa asked Abaye, Bish loime l'Manda Amma l'Yotze Mitzrayim Nischalka Ha'aretz. It's understood according to the opinion of Rav Yoshia that says that the land was divided by those that came out of Mitzrayim. Hainu d'chsev, this is the meaning of the pasuk that it says when it speaks about dividing the land for those that come out of Mitzrayim, as it says in the pasuk, Ach b'goyrel yechalik es haaretz l'shmeis matas avaisam yinchalu, which goes on those that came out of Mitzrayim. And it says in the pasuk right before that, La Rav tarba nachlasai, v'la ma'at tamet nachlasai, that if it's many, then you should add to the inheritance. If it's few, you should minimize from the inheritance. So what is this pasuk saying? What is it coming to teach? So according to the Mandam that says that you divide by Yotze Mitzrayim, this could be very simple to explain. So as I said before in the example, if you have Reuven and Shimon that were from the Yotze Mitzrayim, so you only have 2 portions to give based on only these 2 that came out of Mitzrayim. So now, even if when they came into Eretz Yisrael, there is much more over here by the children. There's 11 children here, but it doesn't matter. You go by what the Nachla was for those that came out of Mitzrayim. So therefore, if it was L'Rav, if there was many that came out of Mitzrayim, so then Tarba. So then this Shevet, the children, are going to get much more. And that's even in a case where it would be the opposite of the example that I just mentioned. Even in the L'Rav Tarba refers to a case where the ones that came out of Mitzrayim were many. And therefore, there's a lot to inherit for them. And then, even if their children, once they came into Eretz Yisrael, they died, and there was very few that came into Eretz Yisrael, but nevertheless, Tarbe, they're going to get a lot because of the Yotze Mitzrayim that were more. And then, V'lama'at Tamit is, as I explained before, if you have 2 that came out of Mitzrayim, Reuven and Shimon, and then later, once they came into Eretz Yisrael, it's a big family. But it doesn't matter, because from the Yotze Mitzrayim, there were only 2 that came out. So now, Tamit, you're going to have to give a smaller portion, only those 2 for the entire large family that there is now. That's what the pasuk is saying with L'Rav Tarbe and L'Ma'at Tamit, according to this opinion. But according to the opinion that says that you give you divide and give the portions of Eretz Yisrael for those that are coming now into Eretz Yisrael, Ma'ila Rav Tarba. What's the pasuk coming to say that you should give a bigger portion? If Rav, if there's many, then you give a bigger portion. What's the pasuk coming to say? Rav Tarba Nachlose. Now, so the Rashbam clarifies here the pshat in the Gemara's question. You cannot say that the pasuk is simply coming to say that by those that are coming into Eretz Yisrael, if there are many, so then they get a big portion, because each one of them is getting. If there are few coming into Eretz Yisrael, so they will get a smaller portion. That cannot be the pshat of the pasuk. First of all, because if that's the case, then basically everybody is getting one fair portion for himself when he comes into Eretz Yisrael. Why would the pasuk have to say tarbe and tamid, that you get more or you get less? That's just simple misvara, that everybody gets exactly the same, because we're only giving for and based on those that came into Eretz Yisrael. Besides that, the Rashbam says the lashon of the pasuk tarbe and tamid is mashma that we're going to give extra or we're going to give less. There's nothing extra and nothing less over here if you're dividing the portions of the Nachla according to those that are now here coming into Eretz Yisrael, and each one, everybody's getting his portion that he has now. So the only way to explain this pasuk, L'Rav Tarbe, L'Ma'at Tamid, is if you say that the Yerusha is based on those that came out of Mitzrayim, and now when they come into Eretz Yisrael, the situation of the family could be very different from when they came out of Mitzrayim. Either there could be many more, or there could be less. And that's what the pasuk is saying, that you can give for this family either more or less from who they are now. So that's only according to the Mandama, L'Yotze Mitzrayim, this Chalak Haaretz. So the Gemara says on this, Kashya, this remains a question. The Gemara does not say that this is a refutation, that it's a tiyufta on this opinion, but that it's a Kashya. We don't know how to answer the pshat in this pasuk according to this opinion. Another question on this opinion, Rav Papa asked Abaye, according to the opinion that says that the Eretz Yisrael is divided by those that came out of Mitzrayim, so this explains why the daughters of Tzlafchad were screaming and complaining that why aren't we getting a portion in Eretz Yisrael? Because Tzlafchad was from the Yotze Mitzrayim. So even though he passed away and he's not coming into Eretz Yisrael, but being from Yotze Mitzrayim, he gets a portion in Eretz Yisrael. And therefore what they were saying is that now that he doesn't have any sons, why should he not have a portion in Eretz Yisrael? And therefore the Ebishah said that the daughters, the Bnei Tzlafchad, will get that portion of their father. So it's understood what they were demanding. But according to the opinion that says that you divide the land for those that are actually coming into Eretz Yisrael, what are they complaining for? What are they arguing and saying that we should be getting a portion from our father Tzlafchad? Halesei delishkail. He's not alive anymore, that he should take any portion. Eretz Yisrael is divided only for those that are actually coming into Eretz Yisrael, and he passed away before, so their father has no portion that they could inherit from him. So the Gemara explains, Elo, we'll have to say, according to this opinion, as I mentioned before already, the concept of chazara. L'chazara, that it's not regarding the portion of Tzlafchad that they were complaining about. They were complaining about the Yerusha that comes back to them from the grandfather from Chefer. V'litoel b'nichsei Chefer, that the daughters of Tzlafchad said we should also get a portion in the possessions or in the inheritance of Chefer. So as we learned before already on Daf Kuf Yud Zayin, the way this works is Chefer, Tzlafchad's father, he was from the Yotze Mitzrayim. Now, the brothers that Tzlafchad had that are coming into Eretz Yisrael, they were still alive, and they get a portion, they get their portion coming into Eretz Yisrael, according to this man Damar. But even according to this man Damar, you don't then divide it between these brothers that are now coming into Eretz Yisrael. What you do is, the portions that these brothers got, let's say it was 5 brothers, you take those portions, and then it goes back to the father, which is Chefer from Yotze Mitzrayim, and then from Chefer it gets redistributed to the brothers. Now, because it's getting redistributed to the brothers from Chefer, even Tzlafchad that did not come into Eretz Yisrael should also be getting a portion when it's being redistributed from Chefer to the children. which would include Tzlafchad. But because Tzlafchad is not alive, it would go to Tzlafchad's sons. But Tzlafchad didn't have any sons. So that's what Tzlafchad's daughters, the Bnei Tzlafchad, were complaining. Why shouldn't we get a portion from this Chelek of Eretz Yisrael because of our father's brothers that inherited? Because they are from Bayaretz. Then it goes back to Chefer. And then from Chefer it comes back to his children, which includes our father as well. That's why they were complaining. Okay, another question the Gemara asks, Bishleime Laman Da'ama L'Yeitzim Mitzrayim. It's understood according to the opinion that says that the Eretz Yisrael is divided for those that come out of Mitzrayim. Hainu de Katzavcham B'nei Yosef. This is what we find in Sefer Yeshua, that the children of the Shevet of Yosef complain that they don't have a large enough of a portion in Eretz Yisrael. The Chsiv, the Pasuk says, Vayedabru B'nei Yosef, that the children of Yosef spoke to Yeshua and they said that our Shevet became so huge that the portion that we're getting is not big enough. So basically what happened was, when they came out of Mitzrayim, their number was much smaller. I think it was somewhere in the range of 32,000. And now when they came into Eretz Yisrael, it went up to, I think, somewhere in the range of 52,000, which is a huge jump, over 60%, that the population of their Shevet grew. So they came to Yeshua and complained that we're getting a portion that's based on the way we came out of Mitzrayim, which is only 32,000, and not based on who we are today, which is 52,000. So it's too small. This is all according to the Mandamar, that you're only giving portions based on Yeitzim Mitzrayim. So we understand why they're complaining. But according to the other opinion, the opinion that says that for the ones that came into Eretz Yisrael, that's who the land is divided for. So what are they complaining about? Kulu shakel. All of them are getting a portion. They were smaller when they came out of Mitzrayim. Today they're much larger, and each one of them is actually getting a portion today. So the Gemara answers, no, mishum tfeilim, to have an official. They had children, and there were many of these children, and these children that were under 20 were not getting a portion from Eretz Yisrael, and they also weren't getting any portion in any other way, as the Rashbam explains, that they weren't getting any portion from brothers, that were going back to the father. These children were Yisayimim, and in a way that they could not get any portion. That's who the Bnei Yosef were complaining about. Now Abaye here says, based on this, that Shmami no, from what we're learning here regarding the Bnei Tzlafchad that complained that they're not going to get an inheritance in Eretz Yisrael, and what it says in Sefer Yeshua that the Bnei Yosef complained, that is, that they don't have enough. So from this we could learn that Le'havachad de Shakel. There was not even one year that didn't take a portion in Eretz Yisrael besides these that complained, but otherwise there was everyone else got a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. And the chiddush over here is, even though it would be possible to argue and say that maybe it ended up happening that somebody did not get a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. This is according to both opinions that we're discussing here, whether the land is divided by Yeitzim Mitzrayim or it's divided by Bayaretz. If it's divided by Yeitzim Mitzrayim, it's possible that when this person's father left Mitzrayim, he was not 20 years old, or maybe his father even passed away in Mitzrayim, so therefore he doesn't have any nachla to take from his father. Or if you say, according to the Manda Amar, that it was Labaya Aretz, it's possible that when this person comes into Eretz Yisrael, he's not 20 years old yet, so therefore he can't yarshin in Eretz Yisrael, and he can't. There's no oifen of chazara that he's able to yarshin in Eretz Yisrael. So it is possible, according to the calculations we're making, who inherits, that there should be people left out. But Abaye says from this that the pasuk only mentions that Bnei Tzlafchad and the Bnei Yosef complained, we could learn out that otherwise everybody else ended up getting a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. Because if you're going to say that there is someone that did not get, so they should have also screamed or complained. Now, if you'll argue and say that the reason why the Torah only writes about the Bnei Tzlafchad and Yosef is because the Torah is only mentioning those that complained and that their complaint helped them. So therefore it's writing. But those that complained and they didn't get a portion, but their complaint didn't help, so the Torah doesn't write about them. So maybe there were others that did not get a portion. Says the Gemara, that's not the case, because by the Bnei Yosef, they complained that they don't have enough, and it did not help them. And the Torah nevertheless writes that they complained. So it must be that these were the only ones. And even though it says over there that Yeshua answered them, but as we'll see soon in the continuation of the Gemara, the answer he gave them was not that he was giving them any additional portion. He couldn't help them. But on this Raya, the Gemara says, Lav Dafke, this is true because we can say as follows. Hassam, the only reason that the Torah writes the fact that the Bnei Yosef complained is not because these were the only ones, but rather we can say, Eitze Teiva Kamashmalan. Over there, it's writing about the story that the Bnei Yosef complained that they don't have enough in Eretz Yisrael, is because it's telling you the good advice that then Yeshua told them. And what did Yeshua tell them? The Boile Leinish Lizdahuri Me'ena Bisha. That a person should be careful from an Ayin Hara. Yeshua, and this is the meaning of the response of Yeshua to them. The Chsiv, it says, Vayema Aleim Yeshua. Yeshua told them, Im Am Ravata, if you are a big nation, so then Aleilucha Hayara, go to the forest. What was he telling them? So if you read the simple pshat of the pasuk, it seems like that he was telling them, I'll give you an additional portion from the forest, but that's not what he was saying to them. If that portion of the forest was from another Shevet, Yeshua couldn't take it away from another Shevet. And if it's already part of Yosef's Shevet, then he's not giving them anything extra. So rather, what was he telling them? Amalahu, he told the Bnei Yosef, L'chu v'hichavatz b'chem b'yarem, go and hide in forests, shlo tishblet b'chem ayin ra, so that ayin ra should not have any koyach, any power over you. So that's the reason why the Torah is saying the story, to teach us this Eitzah Teiva. Now, Amrulei, the Bnei Yosef answered Yeshua, Anan mizara de Yosef, we are from the descendants of Yosef, the Leshalta be'ene bisha, that Ayin Hara has no power over us. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, Ben Peiris Yosef, Ben Peiris alei Ayin. This is the bracha of Yaakov to Yosef. So what does this mean? V'amar abavo al tikra alei Ayin, ela oilei Ayin. The meaning of alei ayin means that they're above of an eye that looks at them. They're higher, and therefore they're not affected by the ayin hara. So the Rishbami brings it. You look there in the psukim in Yeshua. So they answered Yeshua. They said to him that they said la yimatzalanu ahar. What do they mean by this? They were telling him that we're not going to go into the forest, we're not going to go to the mountains because we're not afraid of any ayin hara. Rabbi Chanina says, we learned it from this pasuk, that the bracha that Yaakov gave, that they will multiply like fish. They are covered by the water, and Ayin Hara does not have any power over them. The descendants of Yosef, Ayin Hara has no power over them. Okay, now the Gemara returns to a part of the Braise that we learned before regarding the Nachla and Eretz Yisrael. It said in the Braise, Meraglim, Yeshua v'kol of not l'chelkam, that the portion of the Meraglim, they did not get their inheritance. They didn't come into Eretz Yisrael. Their descendants didn't get it either. Rather, Yeshua and Kalev took their chelik in Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara Minon Emili. From where do I know this? Omar Ule, the Omakra, the pasuk says, Yeshua ben Nun, the Kalev ben Yefune, Chayu mino anoshim mehem. They remained alive from those men from the Meraglim. So what is this pasuk coming to say that they remained alive? My chayu. Ilay mechayu mamish. Is it coming to say literally that they remained alive? But vaksiv krachrina. It already says that in another pasuk, where the pasuk says, V'linoisa mehem ish kiyim kol ben yefun of Yeshua ben Nun. That no one was left of these of the men of the Meraglim besides kol yefun and Yeshua ben Nun. Why is it saying again chayu? Chayu means that they got additional chayis, life, to have the chelik of the Meraglim and Eretz Yisrael. Back to the Braise said Mislainanin, the ones that complained against Moshe and the Midbar, Va'adas Kairach, and the family, the people of Kairach, they get no portion in Eretz Yisrael. Now, this is different than the Meraglim. By the Meraglim, they had their portion, so they didn't get it, but the Yeshua and Kalev got it. But by the Mislainanin, Adas Kairach, their portion of Eretz Yisrael, they lost their portion completely, and Klal Yisrael just got now more of a portion of Eretz Yisrael to divide, but it wasn't given to anybody. But we learned in the Braise, Meraglim, Mislainanim, V'adas Kairach, that the Meraglim and also the Mislainanim and Adas Kairach, Yeshua v'Kalev not l'chalkam, that Yeshua and Kalev took the portion of all of them, not just from the Meraglim. And says the Gemara, loy kashya, there's no contradiction here. It's actually a machlekes, two different braises here. Mar makish mislainim l'meraglim. The second brayso we just quoted here compares the mislainim to the meraglim that Yeshua and Kalev inherited their portion. Mar loy makish mislainim l'meraglim. The other brayso before does not compare the mislainim to the meraglim. Only by the meraglim we find clearly the Torah says that Yeshua ben Kalev Chayu took from their portion in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so the Gemara brings here the source for this concept. Tanya, we learned in the brayso, what does it say by the complaint of Tzlofchad? They said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Avinu meiz b'midbar, zeh tzlofchad. They were speaking about their father that passed away in the midbar. This was tzlofchad. And then they said, V'hu loy haya b'soicha eda. They clarified to Moshe Rabbeinu, he was not part of that congregation. Which congregation were they referring to? Zeh adas meraglim hanayot. Zeh adas meraglim, that is. That's the adas meraglim. By the meraglim, it also uses the term ad masay le'eda hara azais. This refers to the meraglim. So from this we understand that the Meraglim do not get a portion in Eretz Yisrael because he said Zeh Adas Meraglim, and therefore they were clarifying that their father Tzlofchad was not part of the Meraglim. Then they said Hanoedim al Hashem. What does Hanoedim al Hashem come to add? Elu Mislaininim. This refers to the ones that complained. The Gemara is going to clarify in a moment that the ones that complained is the ones that joined Kairach. But Adas Kairach, they weren't part of the people of Kairach Kamashmoy. As a simple pshat, they weren't part of the actual family of Kairach that fought against Moshe Rabbeinu. So over here in this pasuk, it brings together the Meraglim and the Mislainim and Adas Kairach. So therefore, Mar Makish Mislainim and the Meraglim. In the second brayso, it compares the Mislainim to the Meraglim that are brought together in this pasuk that both of them, Yeshua and Kalev, inherited their portion. Omar, the earlier brayso, Loi Makish Mislainim and the Meraglim does not compare to the Mislainim to the Meraglim. Now another question here, going back to what Rav Papa asked. Rav Papa said to Abaye, according to the opinion that says that we compare the Mislainim to the Meraglim, that Yeshua and Kalev got the portion of all of them. Ichbel Yeshua v'Kalev v'Yarsu l'Kula Eretz Yisrael. Does this now mean, if we're going to learn that Mislainim refers to the times in the Torah where we find that the Yidden complained against Moshe Rabbeinu, you have in Parshas B'Shalach already, when the Yidden complained for water, and other times, and many, if not most of Klal Yisrael complained, are you going to say now that Yeshua and Kalev inherited all of those chalakim from the Mislainim, and they got it? How could you say such a thing? We don't find in the Psukim anywhere such a thing, that they were the ones that got the entire chalik of many or even most of Klal Yisrael. Now this is a question only according to this Mandamar that says that the Mislainim, their portion went to Yeshua and Kalev, but if you say that no, it did not go to Yeshua and Kalev, so then we could say that the Mislainim did not get a portion, but it went to their Shevet, so it still remained each by their Shevet. Amalei, so Abai answered, Mislainim sheba'adas kairach kamrinan. The Mislainim does not refer to those that complain against Moshe that we find in other places in Torah. It refers to the 250 men that came, the Rosh Hashanah that complained and fought together with Kairach. And according to this opinion, it's only those that were saying that Yeshua and Kalev inherited their portion as well. Going back to the machlokes about dividing Eretz Yisrael, was it divided by Yotzei Mitzrayim or by Haaretz? Well, let Papa Labaye. Papa said to Abaye another question here. It's understood according to the opinion that says that Eretz Yisrael was divided by those that came out of Mitzrayim. This is what it says in the pasuk in Yeshua, that Vayiplu Chavle Menashe Asara, that the portions in the land of Menashe, there were 10. Well, how are they 10? If you look there in the Psukim, it says regarding the chelik of Shevet Menashe that got the inheritance in Eretz Yisrael, there was a part of Shevet Menashe that took a portion in Ever Yarden, but we're talking about over here in Eretz Yisrael. So it says that there were six Batayav, 6 families. So if there were only 6, why does it say 10? So the Gemara explains. According to the Mandama that says that it goes by the Yotzei Mitzrayim, we could explain this. What is the Asara? Shita, 6 portions was the Shita Batayavis, the 6 Batayavis that are mentioned clearly there in the pasuk in Yeshua. And then Varba, then there's another 4, did who? Another 4 that was for them. So therefore, Ha'asara, that's 10. What does the Gemara mean by another 4 that's for them? Another 4 is for the B'nais Tzalafchad, which got 4 portions. The Gemara is soon going to explain why 4 portions. We learned before in the Mishnah, and the Gemara explained before that they got 3 portions. They got a portion of their father Tzlafchad, then they got from their grandfather Chefer, and the portion that they got from their grandfather Chefer was a double portion because their father Tzlafchad was a Bechor. And then the Gemara will soon explain that the fourth chelik was from one of Tzlafchad's brothers that died without any children, and they got a portion of that as well. So we can understand how it's 6, and then another 4 for the portions that Tzlafchad got, therefore it's a Sarah. But according to the opinion that says that we divide the land for those that came into Eretz Yisrael, so then Tman Yehuda Hava. Then they should only be getting 8 portions. Why? Shita, the Shita Bate Yavis, 6 for the 6 Bate Yavis that, as mentioned, it says in the Psukim there, that inherited from Shevet Binyamin. And then today, there's only 2 portions for the Bnei Tzlafchad. And so Hatmanya, that's 8. Why only 2 portions? Because they're not getting from their father Tzlafchad, because their father Tzlafchad was not from the Boi Aretz. They're only getting from Chefer. And as explained before, in Amar Aleph, the Gemara said that from the sons of Chefer that are coming into Eretz Yisrael, it goes back, Chazara, it goes back to the father Chefer, and then it's redistributed to the children. And it's from that the Bnei Tzlafchad got a double portion, being that their father Tzlafchad was the Bechor. So therefore they're only getting 2 portions, and therefore that should be a total of 8. Why is it saying here that there's 10 portions? Now, so the Gemara answers and the Gemara clarifies, according to your question, according to your reasoning, according to the opinion that says that as Yisrael is divided by those that came out of Mitzrayim. Tasavu, shouldn't it be just 9 portions? Because it's 6 for the 6 Bate Yavis mentioned in the Pasuk, and then another 3, as I said before, in the Mishnah it only mentions about the 3 portions that the Bnei Tzlafchad got from their father Tzlafchad, and then the 2 from the father Chefer, because their father Tzlafchad was a Bechor. So what are you going to answer and explain that there's a 4th portion here? Chad, another one, is Acha the Abba Havalahu, that there was a brother of their father Tzlafchad that passed away without any sons, and they got from his portion as well. So therefore it's 4. And the Gemara is soon going to bring the source for this. If so, if we're saying that according to this Manda Amar, Hachanami, so too we could say according to the Manda Amar that it was divided by those that came into Eretz Yisrael, and we ask that if so, Bnei Tzlafchad only got 2 portions, the Bechor, the double portion from their grandfather Chefer. But we can say today that their father had 2 brothers that passed away without any children, and they got a portion from those 2 as well. Where do we see this? The Tanya, because we learned in the Braise, and here this is in the Lashon of the Psukim. Here we'll see the source for the Nachlais, all the portions that the Bnei Tzlafchad got. The pasuk says, the Eibush says to Moshe Rabbeinu that Nasain Titen Lehem, you should give them their anachla. What does this expression refer to? Zunachla Savian. This is the nachla that they get from their father Tzlafchad. Then it says Betoich Achei Avien, amongst the brothers of their father Zunachla Savi Avien. This means that they're also getting the portion of their grandfather Chefer, that all the children of Chefer and Tzlafchad amongst them Yarshin, and now the Yerusha goes to the Bnei Tzlafchad. Then the pasuk says, "V'havarta es nachlas avia and lehen." You should transfer over the nachla of their father to them. What's this additional lashon? Zu chelik b'chayra. This teaches me that Tzlafchad was a b'chayr, and they also get the portion of the b'chayra. Now, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, "Av chelek achi avia notlu." They also took an additional portion from a brother of their father that passed away without any children. Shenamar, and we learn this from the double lashon that it says, Nasain Titen. The double lashon says that they're not only getting the portion of their father, but they also got a portion from their father's brother that passed away without children. That's the source for this concept. Now the Gemara adds, according to the opinion that says that there were 2 brothers of their father that passed away without children. Where do they learn that out from? They learn it out from the extra word achuzas. It could have said nasan titan lahem nachla. It says achuzas nachla. That teaches that there was another brother that passed away, and therefore that's the 4 portions that is mentioned here in the pasuk. Now on this, the Gemara brings one more question, the final question here that Rav Papa asked. Rav Papa asked Abaye, Kra Maika Choshev. In this pasuk here, when it comes to the portions of the Shevet of Menashe that took in Eretz Yisrael, what exactly is the pasuk counting? If you're going to say that the pasuk is even including what children got, not only the Batiyah, but how then it came back to the children, and they got as well. So then Tuvahava, there could be many more. It's not just, if you're not just going by the Batei Av that are mentioned in the pasuk, because there's only 6 mentioned in the pasuk, But you're saying that it says 10 because we're going by children that Yarshin, so then why only 10? It could be much more. Now, if he's saying that we're counting the Bati Avis that I mentioned there in the Pasuk that was divided for them, so then Shita, really it's only 6. So what the Gemara is really asking is that even though we explained before that it's 6 and then it's another 4 for the Chalakim that B'nai Slavchad got, but B'nai Slavchad are getting their portion in already in a certain Beis Av, Chayfer, which is counted as one of those 6. If you look there in the Pasuk, one of the 6 that I mentioned is Chayfer already. So Tzlavchad is just part of Chayfer. Why would the 4 portions of Tzlavchad be mentioned separately besides the portion of the Beis Av of Chayfer? And says the Gemara, La'olam, really, the Pshat here is, Bati Avos Kachashiv, we're counting over here only the Yerushas of, the Nachla of the Bati Avos and not children. But B'nai Slavchad is counted separately, the 4 portions that they got. And the reason is because there's a Chiddush in this. V'ha kamashmala, the Pasuk is coming to tell me a Chiddush, the B'nai Slavchad not lo chelik b'chayra. So we should understand that the B'nai Slavchad got also a portion, the double portion of b'chayra of their father Slavchad. What's the Chiddush here? Alme, from this we see, Eretz Yisrael muchzekesi. That Eretz Yisrael is considered to be muchzekes, even though their father did not come into Eretz Yisrael, but nevertheless, from already Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Yerusha and the Nachla of Eretz Yisrael is considered to be Muchzekes. So this is based on the point that we learned before here in the Gemara, that a B'chayr only gets his Yerusha if it's double Yerusha, that is, if it's Muchzik, not if it's Roy. So therefore, over here we have to say that if the B'nai Slavchad got the B'chayra, the double portion of their father, even though it was just Roy L'chayra, he passed away before. He didn't yet Yashin Eretz Yisrael. But the fact that he got a double portion is because it's considered to be from Yitzim Mitzrayim that they already have their portion, they already have the Yerusha, and therefore the din of B'chayra applies to this as well. That's why the Pasuk is pointing out B'nai Slavchad separately to teach me this Chiddush regarding the din of B'chayra as it relates to the Yerusha in Eretz Yisrael.